Good so far. Are you? Where are you going? Are you going first?
But I told him, I said. I didn't know. I'm good. That's what you're gonna do.
You don't have to go there to get those. I mean, you can, how long are you going out for?
It's, Thursday to Tuesday. It's a long weekend. Try to get out there in the spring and the fall, and then they come home at Christmas and summer.
It's gonna be beautiful. It'll be beautiful out there. How's it going, everybody?
Promise it'll be. First time ever. Oh, wait, Scott Anderson's here, that means they got it.
What are you handing out?
Paper copy of what's on the screen there. Heck of, it's just like.
For Public Works? I read the agenda about 10 minutes ago.
I'm not your big technology buff, so I
Not,
didn't want to take any chances. I wanted to make sure that everybody could look at something.
I think Brett can help me, he got it on the screen for me. Working, it's like the first laptop working.
If it's only Bill and I, we won't have a meeting tonight. And Scott, you can go for 60 minutes. And we will sit and listen to you.
I'm gonna try to get Bill has a special.
That's, that was a one-time deal.
Aware of it.
That's what you got for going second.
Well, we-
How you doing, Bob?
When I get down.
So I've got something for public safety for her, but
If that's a reason, that doesn't count.
I'm gonna count it against her. Ah,
Time goes by, it's more than every problem.
honestly, if we could start these meetings at a decent time. Like not, this one's okay, but like the village board meeting, I'd love to start it at like 6. To have, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, no.
Well, then, it's what, 10, not 11, so that's
Exactly.
whatever 4 hours you want.
That's,
Actually, they're not the Brewers are playing, so let's,
yeah, that was a little disappointing last night.
might be the last game of the year for the guys.
Hey, they had some opportunities. Holy cow.
They were saying a lot of tickets left.
Holy cow.
Really? A lot of tickets left.
Upper deck was going for 16 bucks. Resale. For a playoff.
Bill, let me check StubHub. Maybe we can get down there.
Well, my brother paid $100 and he's on the first base side, first level, and he paid 100 tickets.
So they get, there's that Aurora Healthcare Bulletin or bullpen.
Yeah.
And they sent us out an email last week with a discount code
Really?
for playoff tickets. Yeah, so they couldn't have been selling.
Yeah, they didn't sell out last night. They had about 40,000 last night. But I think that.
Did they jack the prices up? Did they jack? They didn't announce the time. I was looking last week. It was like,
It was Sunday till the.
yeah. It's like, maybe we'll go, but it could have been at 2 PM on a Tuesday.
There's a lot of people at 6 o'clock at night.
I got work to do.
Yeah, no, I thought that was, I thought that was like worth it now.
Fire thoughts?
Bill, here's what part of the tickets are, $50,000. Like, you go to Dippin' Dots, it's like, how cheap they are, it's like. wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They can go to the stadium and have like 950.
it's nuts. It's nuts.
Explain that to your kids, to your grandkids, you know, geez, like,
I did. I was down there. I went to the Cubs game Friday night. And I got a ball. I got a ball.
oh, no.
Yeah.
What do you got in the
No, a ball. I caught a ball.
What do you want?
First time in my life. I gave it to some kid.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do with it? I did not look at his shirt before I gave it away. I certainly should have.
Just a smidge worried.
President Pro Tem, how you doing today?
Just in time.
That's under office. They changed the locks on her, yesterday during the day.
Oh, it's a mess.
It's a mess.
It is an absolute mess.
Sick yesterday too.
There's a lot of that. Call this meeting toward, Public Works to order, at 5:31 PM. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call is all members present except for Trustee Kaminsky, who is excused, and I thought Trustee Baum was gonna sit in, but I don't see him yet. So.
It's online too.
Okay, great. And with that, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of 9/6/2023.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to public comment. Anyone here to make comments tonight, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and Please keep it to 3 minutes if possible.
Possible.
Scott Effley, W159 N105 14 Old Farm Road, Germantown. I guess a couple questions, not really comments. I know trustee Kaminsky wanted utility advisory. I missed the last meeting, but Steve Wazalowski, who was also on the committee, was here, and she said to come forth with a list of things that we're looking on or want to work on, because we serve at the pleasure of the Public Works Committee. So we have a list put together, but I'll wait till trustee Kaminsky comes back, because she's the one that asked for a list, if that's okay. But we do have a list, so we're starting somewhere. I'm hoping that Bruce might have good news for us on the director of DPW. I know we're still looking for people. I'm happy that we have an engineer. Director of DPW, I think we all agree would be another next step, so we'll see. And then I come to my questions, I guess. So I saw the library, there's a HVAC maintenance agreement. I think it's about 24 grand. It seems like they're both about the same. I didn't recognize the account it's charged to, because I don't know all the numbers accounts, the 530 dash whatever. Is that a library maintenance fund? Is it just against the library? You know how they pay for some things and don't pay for some things. So I guess I'm curious about how that is being paid for, because the library is a village asset. So another question, and I know Paul's here and Tim Zimmerman's here. In my business, I have all types of people as clients, even people that used to work at villages and water utilities in the public sector. And one of the guys that 35 years experience told me that his water utility used to fix their own water main breaks as best they could to save money for the village that he worked for. Unnamed village, it's in this area somewhere. So, and I heard we used to do that. He said, oh yeah, Germantown used to do that. So I'm wondering, does the water utility, can they do some of the work themselves? I know there was a water main break, 150,000 over in Mequon Road, and there was 3 other ones at the same time. Did we do any of those ourselves, or do we have the capacity to do any? Because that would save money, and saving money helps the budget. So I know Paul is here, and I know it's not on the agenda, but that's just a general question. And then the final thing was just, wow, police and fire. So I was here the other night, and we had a presentation by Jake Sajdak, who I'm understanding is an engineering intern in the village, I guess. Apparently he was. He did state at the meeting he's not an engineer. Well, then he's an engineer intern, I guess. But also at the meeting, it was presented that he's a village employee and he signed off on a change order. So is he a village employee? And if he is, what defined role does he have? And is he paid salary and benefits? Because I'm not aware of any of this. I was told he was an intern. I'm not picking on him. I would just like clarity, and I know it's not on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to come forward? All right, if not, we will move on to unfinished business. Item A, road work on Manor Court discussion.
Dennis Moses, N115 W20309 Woodland Drive. It actually is not on Manor Court, it's on Woodland Drive. This is something that's been going on at least since I lived in Germantown for 24 years, and that has to do with the ditches and culverts, which is what I'm asking for reimbursement for. But the land is very flat, very flat. There is not even 1% of what's called. And basically speaking, Larry did a study, or had a study, asked for a study to this committee in 21. It originally was done in 22. R.A. Smith was the one who actually ended up doing, which is this particular item right here per se. It's many pages in regard to it. So it has to do with the Woodland, Oakville, and Merkle Drive areas per se. It was approved for, Hillary thought it would be between $6,000 and $8,000 in the process of it. It eventually went out to them, and he had another discussion with them to have them give some further information to them, to himself, in regard to the put some put some together in regard to what it would cost, what kind of items would you need as such, and that was provided. And there was two different options that they had. One was doing with a sawtooth ditch of 1%. The other one was putting in curbs and gutter or curbs to take care of that. In the process of it, people really didn't want any curbing. It's the old subdivision from the 60s. The new subdivision's actually attached to it. Further up the line, they do have sewer and water and with curbing and such. So basically speaking, there was, like I say, there's two options that they had in regard to it per se.
Excuse me, Dennis, is this about the Bark Lake Road Manor Court paving? Well, that's not the agenda item that we're talking about. We're talking about old business, unfinished business, about Manor Court. That's the agenda item.
It's interesting because I put this in, was later, it was supposed to be on the agenda.
Well, your name was on the requester.
It was on the request about Manor Court. That's something that we talked about. It was asphalt paving.
Yeah.
And it was something that the residents actually talked about in regards.
This is like,
In regard to the problems that they had.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought that was taken care of as such. My own request that I put in per se.
Not sure. I wasn't part of putting the agenda together, so I can't tell you why it's not part of the agenda, but it is not. This agenda item is talking about Manor Court and the asphalt paving that occurred there.
And Trustee Miller, I'm online. This is Steve Precklo. I can give an update on the Manor Court situation if you'd like.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Sure. Actually, since the last Public Works Committee meeting, the interim DPW director and the Highways, Buildings, Parks and Grounds superintendent and I have had a couple of meetings with residents from the area, including one that we had last night, trying to talk with them about the situation and identify things that the village could do, working with them to rectify the situation and address the complaints that they've had. In our meeting last night, I think we have a couple of things we need to discuss further and some more research that we need to do. They asked that we could move this item to next month's agenda in order to give us a little bit more time to work on that. We've met with 3 of the residents before we come to get to with the village board or the committee with a final recommendation on this. I'd like to send out letters to all of the residents there and get input from all of the residents to make sure that all of their input is being considered. So I guess what I'd like to ask the committee to do is to hold this item until the November Public Works Committee meeting.
I'll make a motion to postpone this item until the month of November.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
May I ask Steve a question, please?
After the meeting, sure.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to new business. Item A, update on interim DPW director and recruitment of new DPW director.
And Trustee Miller, I can address this item as well. Oh, I'm sorry, Bruce is up at the podium. I'm a little quick here. I apologize.
Yeah, Bruce is at the podium.
Apologize. I'll let Bruce handle this. Sorry about that.
You got to turn your mic on, please. Hardest part of the night.
There you go. Now it's-
Am I on?
Yes.
Okay, great. So based upon what the village board did at their last meeting with an adjustment to the salary and a reduction to the, or a preference to the PE requirement, making it a preferred requirement, not a mandated requirement. We put the ad out about a week ago, yesterday. And we put it in all the various direct marketing processes that we use. And over the past week, we have received 10 applications. We've been hitting the right market at the right time. I've looked at the applications. There's probably one or two of them that would fit the right bit for us, but that's where we're at. So we have 10 applicants. We got 3 more weeks to go on the recruitment process. It ends on October 24th, and so looking forward to having more applicants. I think our marketing is really working this time. I think the salary range changed it. I think the preference for professional engineer changed that recruiting. So I think we're looking pretty good with 10 applicants right now in a week. I think we're looking pretty good. So that's where we're at.
That's great to hear. Any questions, committee?
No.
Oh, great. Thank you for the update. Good news. All right, new business item B, library HVAC maintenance and agreement.
Good evening. Just to give a little background on this topic here, going back prior to 2020, we had a HVAC mechanical contractor, and then we used Johnson Controls as a contractor to operate our Metasys system, or the brains behind the operation, if you will. And at that time, we had just a brief discussion about some of the issues we were having. If we've got a controls issue and a mechanical issue, you need people to work together. That was breaking down a little bit. So back in 2020, we came to you with a recommendation to enter into a 3-year agreement with Johnson Controls to do both the Metasys maintenance and the actual physical mechanical maintenance of the equipment over there. I'm happy to report that in that time period, we've really been successful in seeing problem resolution as we've had things break down or problems. Again, having that mechanic and that Metasys tech that are working for the same company have really improved the results over there. I also think that we've experienced maybe quicker repairs instead of having a contractor who's maybe less familiar with the equipment and having somebody that's a little bit bigger of a player and more familiar with the equipment. I think we've experienced some savings in that manner as well. So anyway, we're wrapping up the first round of our 3-year agreement, and so we're coming here tonight. If you remember correctly, last time we did come with just Johnson Controls because it's somewhat proprietary, the Metasys equipment. But we did have another contractor. It's Primastar, who did the cooling units earlier this year. Again, several people that understand Metasys at that company, and I felt pretty strongly that they could service our needs. So I asked them for a price as well. You'll notice that my recommendation tonight is to continue using Johnson Controls, even though there's Primastar is about $92 lower. But for $92, I think the momentum that we've had, their Johnson Controls familiarity with the equipment over there and the number of years that they've been servicing that for us, I just think it's a wise move. We do realize by entering this is again preventative maintenance. There's a bullet point. They touch each point as they go down, both spring and fall. But we do also have a 10% reduction in our street rate if we need them for something outside of the preventive maintenance. And so we realize a little bit of savings there as well. So my recommendation tonight is to enter into another 3-year maintenance agreement with Johnson Controls to perform all of the necessary preventive maintenance at the library, HVAC maintenance. And again, that's going to come out of our maintenance account. If approved, it would come out of our maintenance account annually, 10/519/530/5251.
If I recall, Metasys is a Johnson Controls software product, right?
It is, yeah.
So we have the manufacturer of the software
Yes,
for
we
an
do.
extra $92
Yeah.
maintaining it.
Yes.
I'm fine with that. Trustee Hudson.
How much of a price increase?
I Well, I will tell you that I think our last, and I'm giving you a ballpark, our last bill from Johnson Controls was somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,500 to $7,900 for this year. So it's a little bit of an increase.
That's a big range, but gotcha.
It kind of got you over the barrel.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Well, before we had this contract, we just did time and charges, didn't we, with local,
Time and material with
HVAC.
Goshen Mechanical, yes.
and that was, that was all over the place. Plus, Johnson Controls had to help in many cases with that software system.
Yeah.
I'm going to give an example if I could. Goshen Mechanical still does a fair amount of work for the village. They do a great job on a lot of our household residential furnaces that we have in a lot of our buildings. But as an example, we had a cooling unit over there before it was replaced that was giving us problems for the better part of 2 or 3 summers. And by having Johnson Controls come in and understanding that system and having their mechanic who's worked on that exact unit for years, we buttoned it up in a few hours and didn't have issues after. So I really do believe that we're realizing some savings there.
Scott, can I just ask, where is Premistar out of? Where are they located?
They're actually a fairly large company. They've got some contracts in Illinois. They've got a branch here somewhere in the
Milwaukee area.
That's part of the state. Yeah.
Any other questions, or I'll entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 3-year contract with Johnson Controls for $24,752, paid for annually out of account 10-519-530-5251.
I'll second. With that, do we have any other discussion? Scott, there was a question during comments about the fund. Does library pay for it, the library board, or any of that? come out of
The
there?
fund, when the invoice comes in, I account code it to the library maintenance fund on the back side of that. And I don't know if Steve's still online, if he would know if there's any reimbursement from the library on that. I don't know.
I didn't think it was.
But it's being paid initially out of village funds.
I can add in, yeah, there's no expectation or no plan or request at this point for the library to pay for any of this out of the building reserve fund.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, Wachtell Arboricultural Agreement. How's it, Alfie?
Again, this is something we bring forward annually. Wachtell has had a long-standing relationship with the village to be our contracted forestry, our arborist. And again, I can't speak highly enough about their service. We use them, whether it's for tree planting specifications, EAB treatment. They just helped us develop a tree trimming specification that we have out in the street. We're hoping to bring that to you guys in November. Again, so they're instrumental in all the different things that we do as they relate to forestry topics. Over the last few years, we've had a couple instances where we've had private property trees that have caused issue between neighbors, and the village does have ordinance in place where the village can step in and help address that issue when they're warranted as hazardous. Again, Wachtell has been instrumental in helping make those determinations and writing reports for me as we move through those processes. So they're really a very solid company. Again, this is a not to exceed $15,000 contract taken out of the street tree maintenance account. And there were a few adjustments this year, $150 for their project manager compared to $145 last year, $125 for a certified arborist compared to $125 last year. So there were a little bit of an increase in their hourly wages. But again, they bill us per hour based on the different work that they're doing for the village. And we've got the $15,000 not to exceed.
Both of you. Trustee Hudson first.
Oh, I'll let Bill go first.
Scott, the last, let's say the last 2 years, how close have we come to that 15,000 each year?
I'd say that we get fairly close to the 15,000. And one other large thing that I guess I'd like to put out there is they also do plan review. They take any plan review that comes out of the planning department. They do an element of plan review as well, for landscape, for new development, businesses going in, subdivisions going in. So there's that service that they also provide us. As we get closer and closer to the end of the year and we have little gaps in our GIS system, for example, we're talking about having them go in and bring the trees from Renwood Development or Kinderberg Estates and make sure that that information is correct. So as I see that there's money left in that contract, I'm trying to do good things with it and get some more service out of them and better our infrastructure.
Thank you.
Trustee Huff?
I'll make a motion to approve the contact with Wachtell for no more than $15,000 from account 1055-353-0-5290.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I don't have an issue moving this on to the village board, but this is a 2024 budget item. And I think when it gets to the village board, we should probably wait until the budget is approved in order to approve this. But for just time's sake, we can push it on from here. Right?
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
Would you prefer, this is the typical time of year that we've brought this every year. Would you guys prefer that we're bringing that like right away in January or December, maybe?
It would probably be better timing
Okay.
because the budget will then be approved.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that moving forward.
So, okay. With that, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item D, Pilgrim Road Emergency Water Main Relay.
Good evening. So tonight, going to speak about a water main break that occurred on August 4th near an electrical transformer, a 500 kW substation electrical transmission line, an electrical utility pole anchor, and 2 communication pedestals. To prevent the collapse of these electrical facilities and the loss of large volumes of water, we obviously had to turn the 16-inch transmission main off. So we weighed the options for repair, and the best approach was a mini relay. The main was installed and put back into service on August 29th. Attached are the total material and labor costs. All invoices combined were for a total cost of $150,650.02.
All right, committee, trustee Nyrider.
I'm just looking at my paper, but one of the questions that was asked here in the comments is a good question. As far as the labor portion of it goes, I'm seeing the invoice from Tomasini, which would be pretty much the extent of the labor, which is about half of the total project.
Mhm.
The question was asked, and it was a good question, is in the past, did we do many of those ourselves, or why do we now farm it out or whatever?
Sure. So I started in 2017, and I couldn't tell you the percentage that was done in-house versus contract. I'm guessing now I'd say like 60-40.
Okay.
60 contract, 40 in-house. As time went on, I looked at certain priorities, and for me, the priorities were the failure and kind of the disrepair of a lot of our physical inventory or infrastructure, well houses, towers. So I put my efforts into that currently. I think it could be done in-house, some of it. Certainly timing is everything on water main breaks. You compare the invoices from like a DF Tomasini with the loaded wage of staff, and they are relatively close when you compare apples and apples. If I'm not producing safe water, I think I would be out of a job. So that's where our focus is, mainly for our staff. We do support a lot of the underground work that goes on. We buy all the materials. We assist in all the shutdowns, notifications, getting other equipment that a contractor may not have. So we do provide those services. So yeah, to answer the question, we could in the future. We are deficient in sheeting, road plate, trench boxes, those things would have to be obviously assets that would have to be acquired to do things safely. On water main break repairs, where I used to work, that's where all we did basically as a utility from November to March. We were so bad in water main breaks. To do them safely, you always want a 4-man crew usually. I've done them with 2, but it depends on what the break is and where it is and timing too. I'm coming to Germantown as water producers. We're doing that. If I take 3 or 4 guys out to do water main breaks, many times our wells are going down. So I have to weigh what's more safer, what makes more sense for the utility.
Do we have any, is there any insurance, any form of insurance that covers any of that?
Not for these, no.
Okay.
I did ask. There's a boiler, kind of a boiler rider on our insurance, and I did. We can get them on hydrants. Those are for like knockdowns and such, but not, or buildings, but nothing for water main.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
This was a fairly extensive break though, wasn't it? I
Oh,
mean,
it was a big one.
there was boring and
Oh, yeah.
all sorts of stuff that had.
A lot of juggling to get 2 contractors aligned. Directional drilling, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Where the break occurred, we literally, when it broke, it gobbled up some of the communication pedestals. It was going to an electrical transmission transformer, and right next to that was this 500 kW line. So it was a significant break, and routing it the way we did was the best option for the utility. Also, just a note, when you do go through contractors, there's like an upcharge on a few things. We save our money where we can buy the parts, materials ourselves, no tax. So, we do bring savings that way to the utility.
Committee?
So you're looking for approval then of this?
Yeah, this will
of
be
these
forwarded
invoices?
to the
village
village board
board.
as well, but the work has already been done.
Yeah.
so.
I would move to that effect, that we approve it, be forwarded to the village board.
All right, we have a motion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, water tower number 3, painting and logo update and recommendation.
So as we are building the water tower number 3 specifications for rehab, we're just looking at making sure we're going in the right direction for the color and logo. Attached, you should have that rendering for the logo, and we're looking for the logo to be placed east and west on Mequon Road. So
Parallel with.
Germantown would be visual from both directions. As I reported when getting approval for the engineering consultant firm, both, it was discussed at that time. The board did approve based on the recommended color, but I'm just, again, bringing it before the committee that, again, this is the rendering from tower number 4. Nothing's changing.
Hold it up a little more if somebody wants to see it. Trustee Baum wants to weigh in.
Well, is that the final one we approved, right?
That is the approved drawing. Construction oversight was waiting for paint samples to come in before finally approving it.
Thank you.
So we're just,
So we don't have paint samples yet.
we have not had the drawdown, what we call drawdowns. So what is the exact color? Any picture you get is based on a computer
Yeah.
graphic, which is always wrong.
It's got the colors listed, the numbers of the colors listed on there.
And we always wait for a drawdown to verify that that is what the color that we want. So
We can get those and
that's all we're waiting
Okay.
for.
But the scheme is really what you're asking about tonight. The
Right,
exact
'cause-
colors would still have to be
Come
okay.
back, come back to construction oversight.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Committee, any questions or?
Yeah, when is work supposed to be, when is this supposed to be done?
Well, we're juggling taking this offline in light of the Tower 4 being constructed and put online. We are looking at the best and safest approach, taking 1 million gallons of storage offline when we can get another 500,000 in the air to help support just normal usage. So it'll be next year.
And do we know cost-wise approximately what it will be? Not yet till you bid it out?
Yep, yep.
I think we have budgeted 300. No,
No, it's
more than that.
like
Quarter,
six-
three-quarters of a million.
Yeah, that's right. 750 with, and I pointed out that isn't just painting. That's a lot of repair and maintenance as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of paintbrushes. So I think he's just, we're just looking for a, approval of the paint scheme.
I'll make a motion to approve the paint scheme and logo to match tower number 4 for tower number 3.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item F, maintenance considerations for future trail plan.
This topic here, I was asked to have a quick discussion with you guys about it by Administrator Krecklow. No action here, just thoughts and conversation. Back in January of 2021, we discussed as a committee how we approach our maintenance, specifically as it relates to snow removal on sidewalks. And we went over how we did them, the number of hours that we spent on them, that kind of thing. As the village continues to move in a direction of adding trails and pathways, again, and just bringing forward the maintenance aspect of it and what the expectations are. Gil was kind enough to forward me a copy of the trail plan, which I've 92 pages long. I didn't read it cover to cover, but I've had a chance to try to look through it and become familiar with it. And so some of the different things that I want to talk about tonight, and maybe Deb, if you wouldn't mind, we could get to the next slide.
Oh.
Yeah,
Sorry,
thank you.
there you go.
Our current ordinance, and I should be following along as I go here. Our current ordinance reads that gives, let me start with the trail plan. While there's all kinds of different definitions in the trail plan of side areas and different things that are coming in, our ordinance calls out 2 different types of pathways or sidewalks in our current ordinance. And while they're constructed very similarly, the big differentiation between the 2 of them is that pathways, as called out in our current ordinance, run in a park or an easement or in a parkway, if you will. And while a sidewalk is, again, can be constructed of asphalt, concrete, or a permeable surface, is constructed in a right-of-way of a village street. So, looking at some of the different trails and different things, while we haven't really started the trail plan, that discussion is still happening. It really is kind of underway. There's a big section of it that was just built on Holy Hill Road. And so again, from a maintenance standpoint, I guess the thing I would like to spark is, as we're having these conversations, that we're continuing to think about maintenance. And does the expectation of what we're looking to achieve with the trail plan match up with what our current ordinance reads and what we're going to try to accomplish as maintenance staff? And so that's really where I'm coming from tonight, is making sure that those 2 things line up and that we're not putting ourselves in a position where our current ordinance is requiring us to do something that we can't maintain anymore. And I think there's probably a way to do that. And if I saw Deb do this correctly, I'm on to my next slide. I'm getting the hang of this. This has nothing to do with sidewalks or snow removal or anything, but it's a snippet of our current heavy traffic restricted language in our ordinances as well. And the reason I brought this up here tonight as an example is I don't know how we get here and how we change the ordinances we have in place now as they refer to maintenance, but as we're developing this plan, I think something more along these lines, if we're determining what something is called and where it's located, we can specifically call out how we're going to maintain it. And I think moving forward in the future, whether it's for myself or other DPW staff, whether it's for elected officials that are going to get phone calls from residents saying, how come you do or don't clear this? Or for the residents themselves, it's maybe a potential way to have a clear understanding of what the expectations are as we move forward with sidewalks and trails and different things here within the village. So again, no action needed. Happy to talk about it for a minute or give you additional thoughts if you have questions. Just really sparking the thought behind making sure that maintenance is an element of our future trail plan as it moves forward.
So Scott, a couple things. In the current trail plan, the pathways, if I recall, like through the parks and that, are not plowed or really maintained in winter.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's a great statement, and we do get asked about that. As a matter of fact, we had what sparked our conversation in January of 21 was somebody in public comment, I think the month before, asking that question, and we were directed to kind of bring this conversation forward. But yes, you're correct. So a pathway is, for example, Kinderberg Park. The Heritage Waterway, there's a path along that leaves Kinderberg Park to the east. Those would be considered by our current ordinance pathways. Now, we have a sledding hill at Kinderberg, so we do plow that loop. We have rentals at Kinderberg all year. So there are portions of that park that we still maintain so that people have access. There's fire access if the building is on fire, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes right down to the rest of those pathways, yes, that's why we are not clearing them.
Well, like
Yeah.
Altbauer, that doesn't get.
Altbauer gets a little bit of a loop up to the well house that's out there, and then the rest of the trails. Yes, you're
So
correct.
enough for your needs,
Yes.
really, for
Yes.
winter. Okay. So as we're putting, it sounds like you want to update the ordinance for this, and I think we need to take that into consideration. Do we want to start maintaining those paths or pathways in the winter? If we do, that's gonna be a lot more work, maintenance work, more cost, et cetera. I think people would like that. I don't mind this either, spelling out each exact pathway that we do, but as we add, then this would have to be updated.
Yes. Mhm.
So that would be my comments. Anything else from the committee? Trustee Nyrider?
Yeah, and I know, Scott, you and I had a discussion last winter, I remember, because I had some phone calls. I guess I didn't know that it was our responsibility, and when I say our, the village's responsibility, to maintain the sidewalks. And I guess I wondered why we really do that. Other communities, what do you have, 24 hours to get your sidewalks done or whatever, but I guess I was concerned because one of the things, you mentioned to me was like if there's a snowstorm on a Friday, you may not get to the sidewalks until Monday.
Yeah.
And that's where some residents were calling and saying, hey, you guys got an ordinance and yet you're not out there cleaning it. Well, I can see why we wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So I guess it begs the question is with budgets getting tighter, and that's significant amount of labor plus equipment, does it make sense for the village to continue doing that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think part of that is, so the center of the village has sidewalks in front of the houses, but many of the sidewalks here are on the backside, Pilgrim Road, Mequon Road, and like, so I think the village has always maintained those because it's really not in the front of their yard. It's not
Okay.
part of their driveway. But again, that's a discussion, to have.
So do we maintain the sidewalks on Donjas Bay? And when I say sidewalks, I mean the concrete sidewalks, not the asphalt ones.
Yes, we actually maintain both. And boy, I'm thinking of another slide I wish I would have thrown in this little presentation, but we do have a map, and I'd be happy to share it with you guys as a committee of what we currently maintain and the different routes that we go out. There's 3 different routes. And yes, we do clear both the asphalt path because again, it's in the right of way. And by ordinance, it's considered, even though it's asphalt, it's considered a sidewalk.
Okay, that's, yeah.
Yeah,
And then, on Pilgrim Road, if we start at County Line and we go north, for the first mile, sidewalks are in the front of the house.
yes,
For the next mile, they are in the back of the house.
yes.
And we maintain both of those?
Both, yes. And listening to all of your comments and trustee Nyrider, that is something that came up the last time at the Public Works meeting. That's a complication. We are very unique as a community that we do the extent that we do when it comes to clearing sidewalks of snow. But there are complications on Pilgrim, backyard, side yards, different things like that. I guess a couple other thoughts boy, we've had a couple not so bad winters here, and boy, I hope those keep going on a personal level. But reality is bound to set in at some point, and I think it's always really important to understand that the people that are clearing those walkways are also the same people that are clearing our parking lots and streets. And so we have a practice, and I think it's been supported pretty much by and large by the board, that we don't do that work on overtime. And as this continues to expand, and if the expectation stays the same, we're going to start running into an issue where if we have 2 or 3 storms in a week and this sidewalk system or pathway system gets so large, we're not going to be able to do it after the fact and get all the way through it. Right now, currently, if we have 5 to 6 inches or more, it's taking 2 guys almost 2 days, potentially almost 2 days to get that done. And so it's just something else to be very careful of as we continue to grow this thing. Great to have. How are we going to maintain it, and what are the effects that it might have on our department?
So as we add sidewalks or asphalt paths next to the road, by ordinance, those have to be cleared.
Currently,
We
yeah.
have to keep that in mind when developing this plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Guess not. Thanks. Thanks
Yeah,
for the update.
appreciate it.
All right, that computer timed out on me. All right, we're finished with all the new business, so we need to set our next meeting date. The first Wednesday of the month would be November 1st.
Back to Tuesdays for winter?
And that was my next question is, do you prefer Tuesdays or Wednesdays? It doesn't really matter to me.
Personally, it doesn't matter.
Personally, I guess Wednesdays, but
I like Wednesdays.
Wednesday.
Let's stay with Wednesdays then.
Wednesday's fine. Yeah.
Just Wednesday of every month.
Okay.
yeah,
She wouldn't have to.
Is the first okay, or is that too soon? I'm almost thinking the 8th just because of the budget meetings that are going on.
Well, the election's the day before. I don't think they need the room.
Oh, it's the first then. Is the first okay? Yeah, there is no election this year, right?
It just pops up on my phone.
We'll keep it the first, if that's all right. Yeah. So we'll schedule it the first at 5:30 PM in this boardroom. And with that, we will adjourn, or unless someone has announcements. No announcements?
No.
Okay, then we will adjourn at 6:15. Thank you.
I did do the fire department tour. Excellent. It was excellent. It really, oh man,
did you talk about the price of fire trucks?
yes. I had the same, what's his name, Riker? Yeah.
Excuse me, just so that everyone's aware, you're still broadcasting.
You know, his enthusiasm for being in the fire department. Oh,
It's 45, you said, right?
I don't know if anyone can hear me. This is Steve. I just wanted to let you know you're still broadcasting. Deb, if you could maybe turn off the
Yeah,
system?
Steve, I've got the hot mic, so I'll turn it off.
Okay, thank you.